Okay, here's a fun little exercise where we're going to find a map or any other kind of picture really, but for this exercise I'm going to use a map, a street map found from Google Maps. I got it of the Boston area and did a screenshot of this that I'm going to use for the project. And I'm going to go to Photoshop and open a new file. And sometimes if you have used some of these images before or the layout, you'll have those options here. Otherwise, you can plug in your dimensions that you want. And it's easy for students, the 8.5 by 11, because they can be printed out easily from the printer. You have the portrait mode and landscape. So decide which one you would like. For this project, I would suggest using the landscape. We want to make sure that it's 300 resolution. My background is white, which I can change later. So here's this, and I'm going to open my Finder where I have my screenshot of the Boston streets. I'm going to double click this to activate the picture. Okay, so I can either check OK or double click. And I'm going to crop this later. So I have my map there. I'm going to click on the T for text. And you want to make sure that you're using something nice and bold. So here's Arial Black. And I've got a pretty large font. I can change that later. I want just a black color is good. And I'm just going to start typing. So one cool thing about working with the lettering, I'm going to edit, free transform, and drag this till it fits pretty much, definitely the length of my canvas, but I also need to stretch this a little. So I'm going to hold down Shift so that it'll stretch. I don't want to do it too much and distort it. And then you can move this wherever you'd like it to be. So one of these bars on the side, there's a character function, which will allow you to change the elements within the spacing. If you have multiple rows of letters, you can change the spacing between the rows. You can change the spacing on the spaces in between the letters. So I'm going to highlight these letters and just show you. I did decide I wanted it minus 75, but the normal font size of this, I could spread them out. With many of the graphic design projects, this is really helpful to be able to nudge your letters a little closer. So this one was already set up. So there's my Boston. And super simple. It's kind of a nice exercise to talk about using a mask. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go into my Boston letters and I need to select these, but right now it's a text. So you want to make sure that all of your letters are exactly how you would want them. If something's misspelled, you got to fix it now. I'm going to go up to layer and I want to rasterize my type so that this now becomes a shape instead of the letters. So you can see that now these letters are looked at as a grouping of shapes rather than the text tool. So I want to select all of these letters. So I'm going to use my magic wand to select these. And actually, if this is the default that contiguous is selected. But if I were to just click in the letter, it will take whatever, like these two are kind of connected there. But I want all of the letters to be selected. So I'm going to click off that contiguous. So now when I click on this, it's going to take everything that is actually that color. So now all of my letters are highlighted here. But what I want to do is get my map to be on top. And because I have the letters of Boston highlighted, now I'm in my my map and I'm going to hit this mask tool. And what happens is it kind of acts as the eraser and selection. So now I have selected the letters and it essentially is like delete, so I lose everything that's in the background. And there's a little bit of an edge here because the selection tool was a little bit feathered. So if I just turn that off, now I have just the letters in the shape of the map. So I'm going to give this another background. I'm just making a new layer and I want to fill that with a color. Cool thing about colors, when you bring this down to give you the color picker guide, you can take the mouse and go into any of these colors and try it out. If I want to pick this pinkish color, just click on that and it will color match your images here. Maybe you want the green or that blue, which wouldn't be smart because it would all just blend in. But I'm just going to go with his, it's my son's, BU red. So there, and then I can take my crop tool. Ooh, that's not that. So here's a great reason for having these checks and no signs. I clicked on it wrong. So I'm gonna just crop out of the areas that I know I don't need. Okay, and then double click or click that check mark up there. If I want to, I can change the background color here. If you know what you want, you can quick change it. Otherwise, you can use this color adjustment tool where it will change the hue for you. So depending what colors you would like. So it's kind of a fun way to try out different color schemes. And then you can always go back to 0 where you started. And file, save as long as you're done with it, go for it and save it as a JPEG, or you could do a PNG or even a TIFF, which JPEGs and PNGs are going to be the best for this. This is my Boston map. It's kind of fun to pick places that you've been or have meaning to you. But yeah, that's it. So fun little project.